to the official podcast at contentchampion.com. Join our heroic quest to discover truly epic content marketing. Introducing your host, the content champion himself, Loz James.
Hi guys, welcome to episode 28 of the Content Champion podcast. Thanks as ever for listening. Now, an increasing number of listeners and readers of the blog are asking me if content marketing techniques really work in all industries, and would it work in theirs? And the perfect answer to this, other than me saying, of course this works for everybody, is to give you a great example. And that's why I've invited Steve Sheinkopf on the show. Steve is the fantastically successful CEO of Yale Appliance and Lighting in Boston. And he's been using blogging and content marketing techniques to build up his business since 2007. Things really took off for the Yale Appliance blog and online brand in 2011, with visitor numbers growing from 38,000 a month 3 years ago to over 280,000 a month today. In line with this, Yale's increase in revenue has also been meteoric. With such impressive growth figures, it was a delight to chat with Steve about how exactly he achieved this. So let's dive in. Thanks very much for coming on today, Steve.
You're very welcome. Nice to meet you.
Okay, you're the owner of Yale Appliance and Lighting in Boston, and you've got a fascinating story of how you've used blogging and content marketing to grow your business. We love to hear our guest stories on the show, so before we kick off, please tell us a bit about the history of your business, your ethos, and what solutions you provide.
Ethos must be an English word.
That's a very good word.
That's a great word. Basically, Yale was founded in 1923, and somewhere in that time, my grandfather took it over. And then my dad, and somewhere around 1997 or so, I took over from my father. We are what I would call a large independent regional company in Boston. You know, we have a lot of the challenges I'm sure that a lot of small businesses have. We have, I think, 6 Home Depots around us, and Lowe's and Sears and Best Buy, and you know, we compete online against Amazon and everything else. So it's changed quite a bit. Solutions we provide that were different is we're a training company. We want to keep our people one step ahead. We're probably the largest showroom outside of east of the Mississippi in terms of appliances and lighting. And we provide a lot of solutions. We do a lot of custom installation, delivery, and we service what we sell. So that's kind of what makes us different.
Okay, so let's turn our attention to how blogging changed your business, really. Before we delve down into the details, could you give us some stats to illustrate how successful your blog is?
In 2011, we started to do business blogging as opposed to regular blogging. We were at like 38,000 visitors a month. We top out somewhere around 280,000 now.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's 280,000. We multiplied it by 10 in 3 years. So that's what blogging can do.
Okay, let's wind the clock back a few years. I understand you'd been blogging from around 2007, but despite having a great deal of sales experience, it just wasn't working for you. So what turned this inbound marketing into the success story that you enjoy today?
Well, it's a change in mindset. There's a difference. I think when I started in 2007, I wouldn't say I failed, but I failed to achieve the results that I do now. And that is to say, I blog more like a hipster or an artist instead of a business person. If you're going to blog properly, you have to understand where you fit in kind of like the business universe, what your people would like to read, what your niche actually is. Then you've got to really title and meta tag properly. And then you've got to have a good call to action afterwards to get them to go to a certain point. And all we did was write about stuff. We didn't title it well, so the search engines couldn't pick it up. There was no call to action, none of that. So really, I think people are blogging. It's very easy to tweak to a business blog, but they just got to understand all that goes with it, just the tactics. But really, I think probably the hardest thing is the strategy is like, if you're selling insurance, you got to pick a niche because everybody's writing about insurance or everybody's writing about a refrigerator or everybody's writing about a stove. But get into that particular niche, and that's where you find success. You don't want to make it so small that you're relevant to one person, but you want to make it niched out so you're relevant to, say, 1,000 or 2,000 people because those will become your customers.
That distinction then, that difference between just blogging and blogging for business or business blogging, this is really why so many people are perhaps failing at their inbound marketing.
I think that's part of it. I think that basically, there's a lot of reasons why people are failing. not understanding what you're writing about. A lot of blogs are just veiled self-promotion where they're just announcing sales and being too salesy. I think, there's not enough quantity, not enough quality. There's any number of reasons to fail. But really, the first thing is you got to get somebody who can champion and will see it through. That's the first thing. The second thing is you got to be committed to it. The third thing is you got to write about your niche, and you got to understand the tactics that we just talked about blogging. You can do all that. I don't think there's any business that won't succeed using a proper inbound strategy.
Let's dig down into that proper inbound strategy then. You've mentioned this, you touched on it. It all starts with understanding your customers and then getting your keyword research right off the back of that, especially if you want to get your great rankings and encourage engagement. So could you go through that process for us as you do it?
Well, there's a couple different ways you can do it. To be successful at it, I'll tell you, I stumbled upon it myself. I was writing for 4 years and I wrote a post. It's my most successful post now. It's garnered about 240,000 views.
Wow.
It was called Best Counter Depth Refrigerators. And I didn't understand why I was successful then. I understand it now because I got into the psychology of how people look for stuff, which is when you go to the internet, and this is really a really good hack. If you go to the internet, you're always looking for best reviews or ratings. Like you'll see, well, what's the best? For me, it was best counter depth refrigerator. So I took the refrigerator as the base keyword, and counter depth made it a long tail. Now, we like to complicate things by saying keywords research or long tails or anything else. That's what marketing people do more often than not. But really what it is just a niche. Counter depth refrigerators are just a very expensive refrigerator that we know how to sell. So one of the things you can do if you find out that post became successful is you write things off that. Well, if I know best counter depth refrigerators is moving the needle, what I would do is maybe compare the brands within them, compare the sizes within them, compare the finishes, or you can do any number of things off that one post. That's one way to do it. The other thing is, once again, doing keyword research comes natural to me because I sold for so many years. I understand the brands. But a lot of it is going to be, some of it's going to be trial and error. And if you write consistently, you'll find it. The other thing is to understand, and I said this before, and this is really important, where you fit in the universe. I mentioned before, how many people we compete with and how many brands we compete with. I mean, I've got 60 competitors within a 3-mile area. You got to find out what makes you different and write about it, really. If we go back to the insurance thing, I don't sell insurance, but you could be talking about insurance for older people, younger people, business insurance. What kind of business? It's an electrical supply, is it warehouse, is it appliance stores, is it blog writers? It could be any number of things. You want to splice that niche off into so many different ways. If what I'm saying is hard, it's a lot easier than that. The first thing is to write, figure it out, write about it, and just analyze the response with just simple analytics, whether it's Google Analytics, I use HubSpot, and see what gives you traction.
From an SEO perspective, to get a little bit technical on that, each of those posts we're putting our keyword in the title tag, just naturally written for human beings, but we are mentioning that keyword and synonyms of that within the content itself. And this is why you're getting, for those long tail terms, such great rankings as the content piles up. Yeah,
really. If you want to totally circumvent the whole SEO mindset, which I still don't quite understand what makes one page rank better than the other, and Google ain't saying. So there's a lot of simple things you can do. I think the versus post is probably one of the most effective things I do. You take two popular products and you compare them. And I never understood why we're so successful at it and then I figured out that most brands can't do it. Like General Electric is not going to come out with a post comparing themselves to Frigidaire typically. Car companies don't do it really well, but that's what we do every day on the sales floor. I mean, I can tell you right now, and I think I've said this before, right now in the store, someone's comparing a Bosch dishwasher to a KitchenAid dishwasher. And I write a post about it. And it's funny how so few people do it. So if you're a small business and you have more than one product, which I would say it would be 90% of any business, whether it's British or American, compare the two because your customers are going to do it. And that's a direct SEO hit that nobody does.
I know you've worked with Marcus Sheridan, who we've had on the podcast as well. And what you're talking about there is the sort of they ask you answer approach, really, isn't it? It's knowing your customers, knowing the types of searches, the types of questions that they're going to be asking of you as a company. And you're saying, know your place within that universe. Yep. And then you can answer those questions. And there are going to be hundreds of them for any business.
Yeah. The couple things you need to do, and this is another reason why blogs fail, is you need to know the product. So if you're hiring a consultant that doesn't know the product, you're going to fail. If you're going to outsource it, I think there's a place in outsourcing, but you got to ride shotgun with that outsourcer. You can't just have somebody write about the appliance business that doesn't know about it. That's a big problem. The other thing is you got to know what your niche is. For me to write about refrigerators, it's silly because I'm sure that Sears has got, or Home Depot has got 20 people in their office that are writing pages perfectly for SEO. That's not something you can do, but understanding the niches of that business. So really, if you want to blog well, you can do all the tactics, but you have to know the business and you have to know where your business stands against everybody else's business. And then you got to write about it. You can do those 3 things, you're going to be successful blogging, successful in business.
You're using the HubSpot system and software, and I know you've talked about HubSpot is only a software. It's only as good as the people using it and those systems you put into place. I'm taking it that all the posts you write are promoted on social media, and there are other strategies you use as well.
Yeah, but something, if you're writing to a specific niche, you don't really have to worry about it that much. Yeah, we promote it on Facebook and we promote it on Twitter, okay? And we have an RSS feed and people get this sent automatically. And then there's all kinds of ways you can do it. If you've got an email list of future prospects, blog posts make the best email fodder there is. I know that if you are downloading a buying guide, say pick one, we got like 20 of them, say professional ranges. I know you're downloading a professional range guide. I know 2 things about you that marketers would kill for. I know that A, you need a professional range or considering it, and B, I know you need it somewhat soon. So what I do is I set up the blog posts as lead nurturing campaigns. I drive people towards the purchase. That's the other part is you're not blogging for your health. You're blogging because it's good for your business and you're going to make money off it. I send blog content all the time to people. I have 20 different lead nurturing campaigns going on at all times. And I send these people 4 or 5 different lead nurturing emails to get them to come in the store and buy something.
Okay, so conversions, we're talking about making money. That's what everyone listening is interested in. Mm-hmm. Given that, lead nurturing, you're producing specific types of content for where that customer is in your buying journey, as it were. So they might just be tire kicking, to use the analogy of buying a car. They might just be looking at lots of cars in the lot, kicking the tires, having a look at the trim inside. Then they're going to go on perhaps to a specific make and model of car. And then after that, they're going to make a buying decision. So how do you fit your content? What types of content fit those different stages?
It's funny. We write so much content to people of all different stages. There's no way to know. I don't have a particular stage in mind. I only know that typically I want someone to read what we write and say, wow, they know what they're talking about. Let me download a guide. And then from my standpoint, they made the first move. Now I'm ready to engage them. Okay? So that's how the process works, is it goes well beyond that, really. The first thing you do is make sure that you do what you say you're going to do and your social reputation's good. Because you could be writing the best blog post in the world, but if you get a 2-star rating on Yelp or Google, you're screwed. So what we try to do is we try to get people to understand that we know what we're doing. So the interaction with us is going to be a positive one. And once you get into that mindset, you can write a bunch of blog posts. Someone's going to go in the funnel in different places. What you have to do is you have to write good content to impress them enough. For me, it's to get them to get into a guide where I can start a conversation with them. Did I just answer your question?
You totally did. What you're basically saying, this is what people, I guess, need to hear, is that, okay, there are a lot of moving parts to this, but it can be simplified. If the trust and authority is there in you as a brand, whether that's online or offline, and you are knowledgeable about your subject matter and you produce blog content that fits with that, the next stage, what you're doing is producing buying guides. They might be white papers. They might be other documents for other companies.
Same thing.
And that opens that discourse where then off the back of that, you get a sales lead.
A lot of people, they overthink it. And if you're overthinking now, or if I've stressed you out, just do one thing. Just write. Make sure your blog title's got a keyword that you're interested in. Don't think about your business. Think about your customer, of who you're trying to talk to, and just write. Start that way. I mean, everybody gets in the conversation of funnels and this and that, and you get so confused. You don't know where to start, so you don't start. And that's the only problem you have. Once you start writing, you'll get better at it. And over a period of time, you'll just figure it out because you'll have the analytics to back up and support you.
You're listening to the Content Champion Podcast, showcasing the best content marketing strategies across the web.
We're back with Steve Sheinkopf. Just really fascinated by what you're saying, and there's a kind of day in the life question coming up about your content workflow, as it were. I know that you're the editor of all the content and you've become really a master copywriter at all this because you're editing and producing so much content. You're using HubSpot. That's the system. You can use any one of these tools.
You can use any.
How does it look then? How does that pan out with people? What is it? Different specialisms within your organization writing the specific blog posts? How do you come up with those editorial calendars and how does it all fit together?
I used to write all the blog posts myself, and I still write a fair amount of them. But what I try to do is I try to base it on somewhat of seasonality. First of all, we have a lighting department, we have a service department, and we have a appliance department. And the bulk of what we sell is appliances. So typically what I'll do is we have 30 salespeople, and I assign them blog posts. Or I send out 30 topics, and they pick the topics they want. Now, our sales force is divided into lighting and appliances. So they can pick the topics, or they can pick their own if they want to talk to me about it, and then they write based on that. That's how we do it here.
If we're looking at quality consistency, how often are you blogging? It's 5 or 6 times a week, isn't it?
Yeah.
What's more important, consistency or quality?
Both. And again, if you're just starting out and you're saying, oh boy, I can't do that, you probably can't, especially if you're a small business. And I was there. I think 2 to 3 good blog posts a week, minimum of 2. I think anybody can do that, really. And if you're a sole proprietor, 2. If you got people working with you, you got to figure out, I mean, we'll get into the financials of it all because I'm not doing this because I'm a good Samaritan by any means. But we'll get into the financials of blogging, but you really need to have at least 2 good posts a week to get any tread. Especially in the beginning, you need to learn. And the only way you're going to learn is to have topics. The only way to get topics is to write about them, and that's the only way to figure out from an analytics standpoint of how well you do. You may find out that you're going to be successful in areas that you never thought you would be, but you're only going to figure that out if you're right.
Okay, talking about the financials of blogging then, a lot of clients that I work with, they just say, look, my niche isn't necessarily interesting enough. There's not enough material for me to blog all the time. But I guess your attitude is that if you can't get your customers interested in your own products, you're in trouble, aren't you?
Yeah, I mean, that's really an odd sentiment. I sell appliances for a living. I mean, how much more boring can that be? But for customers, it isn't. For someone that's putting a first-timer who's looking for his first kitchen, his or her, a dream house or something, it's exciting to them. If someone's making a purchase, whether it's exciting or not, and I think Mark Sheridan did the best when one of his fastest growing clients actually sold fertilizer or mulch or something like that. I mean, everybody's business is exciting to somebody or nobody would be buying anything. You know? Mm-hmm. So you can make it exciting by, and I've seen a lot of businesses do this, you can do it exciting by putting it on video. I mean, videos make great posts, especially if you video on a blog and you put it on YouTube. Well, Google owns YouTube, so you're doing a double dip there. But there is something exciting about your business or you wouldn't have any customers. If someone's buying something from us, that's exciting to them, obviously. So I don't agree with that. You can find something exciting about something in any business.
Okay, and how is writing about appliances in an exciting way, a customer-focused way, without giving me too many specifics, obviously, how much has that grown your company as a percentage doing this for the last 4, 5, 6, 7 years?
Well, it's hard to know because we're in the midst of the recession. We're coming out of it. So, but to give you raw numbers is our business is up somewhere around 45% since 2010 or 2011. But the other thing is if you look at financials, and I'm talking to CMOs or CEOs here, is if you can grow your business and not lose your margin, if you become a thought leader, people are more inclined to spend more with you. You'll have better margin integrity. But the other part about it is advertising costs money. If you can eliminate that expense and grow the top line, that stuff just goes to your bottom line probably as well as anything. You're eliminating expense and you're adding a revenue and you're adding prestige to your business at the same time. It is a total win. If you get really good at it, it's a total win on every level because it all goes to the bottom line. At my level, I should be spending well over $1 million on advertising. I don't. But what I do is I take that money and invest in touch points the customers like, better showroom, better salespeople, better training methods, better trucks. You spend that money on things that people actually want. And that's how it all self-perpetuates and grows.
And just talking about the showroom there and the offline and the online customer experience blending together, your systems and processes, was that a difficult proposition, bringing together, an on-the-ground, real-world business with this online brand? Or is it just an overarching branding process that brings it all together?
You don't control your brand. What your customers say and what they do controls that brand. I think blogging and helping people offline is a great thing to do for your brand. And I think it's been essential and a core value. I mean, I really think that in this day and age, seeing that the internet is all controlling and everything else, there's two things you want to be known for: better customer service and better knowledge, or you want to have the cheapest price. That's the only two ways to live in this world, is to be cheap or be good, And I think blogging and customer service goes a long way for your brand and your overall success.
Okay. On a general note then, following on from that, in your opinion, will businesses that don't develop a coherent inbound marketing culture, will they simply get left behind?
Well, it's funny. I used to be on the board of an appliance co-op group, and they put all their money into circulars, which I thought circulars died 15 years ago. But I asked her where they put all their money there, and I said, we should put it in interactive. And I said, well, one day during a break, I said, how many people get their information by radio, TV, circular? And they didn't know where I was going at this point in time. And so maybe one or two, there were 15 people in the room, one or two people raised the hand for everything. I said, okay, how many people go to the internet to find what they're looking for? And everybody's hand goes up. So really, in an internet world where everybody's going online to find something, and really all a blog is a highly optimized SEO webpage. You have two things that you have to do. You either embrace an inbound culture of some sort, and you don't have to do it to the level that we do it, obviously, especially if you're smaller, or you got to spend a ton of money advertising. And what I found is, and I used to spend a lot of money in advertising back in 2007 and 8. And when the recession hit, I spent more, and I got diminishing returns even when the recession was on. So you'll have to spend a ton of money advertising, or you develop an inbound culture. But if you're going to spend a lot of money advertising, you better multiply it by 50%, because people aren't listening. They're not listening to what you have to say about yourself. They're listening to what other people say about you. So make sure that your social reputation is good. And they want to listen to what kind of resources you have. Like if I'm going to build a garage, I'll go online to how to build a garage, and I'll look at the people that have done it and say, this person knows what they're doing. So I'm more likely to engage with that person because they've done what I'm planning to do. So that's really where you need to be, is in the advice, service, and customer service business. If you're going to survive in this business or have a ton of money advertising and be the cheapest person in the world, and it's not possible doing that. It's suicide. So those are really your only things. So I guess in a roundabout way, I'm saying develop some kind of inbound culture. Absolutely.
Well, look, this has been a fascinating conversation. I'm going to throw a curveball question at you in a minute, which I call the PS question. But before I do that, could you just remind us all where we can find you online, please?
It's yaleappliance.com, one word. My email is my name, steve.sheinkopf at yaleappliance.com. Twitter handle is Yale CEO.
Wait for it, listeners. Here comes the PS question.
This is what I call the PS question. I just want to know, please, if you could share another advanced content marketing or inbound marketing strategy that my listeners can take away and use right after this call.
Don't spend any money on advertising. Just don't, because you're not getting a return on investment. But that's an easy one. You probably know that. There's two things I would do. The first thing I mentioned, so pick a niche, write about it. Okay? If you got something that's the best of, say it. So if you got the best insurance, say best warehouse insurance for you, or and make it as specific as you possibly can. But once you get into the blog thing, the intermediate class begins. And that is, I want you to write a buying guide about something specific that you're selling. Once you make that buying guide, and if you make it good, and everything that you do should be good. So there should be quality and consistency. Okay? Once you do that, now you have someone's email address. Now you can send what specialists call drip campaigns or lead nurturing campaigns. Now you can drive people to a purchase. If you have a buying guide, let's take the pro range. I send 5 or 6 lead nurturing emails with an average engagement rate of 35%.
Wow,
okay?
That's good. That's good.
Yeah, that's about 15 and a half times the average.
Yeah.
Because I know what you want to read. Most people are sending sale emails to people, right?
Mm.
That's why they never get open, because I love email. Email is really what we're good at. But most of my competitors send me sale emails 3 times a week. How many times can you actually be on sale? But anyway, once you get that specific guide, think about the path to purchase and send them different resources, which are just blog posts. I send people blog posts, comparisons, most reliable, least reliable. And then after a while, you can send, like, we're going to run a Groupon. We do it once a year. You can always say, hey, P.S., just so you know, we're running a Groupon. You can get them into the purchase process much quicker that way. After you send them a couple of resources, if you want to send them something, I never get salesy, but if there's something going on, we have tax-free weekend here, the state puts on. So that's a perfect time to put a PS on. We have a private sale. That's a perfect time. Cooking seminars. We have cooking emails. You can send something like that. You can really drive the path to purchase with blogging, guides, and then lead nurturing, probably better than anything else you can do.
That's fantastic. Great strategy, and probably a great title for this podcast as well. Look, Steve, I'd like to thank you very much for your time. Fascinating conversation, and I wish you all the best.
All right, you too. It's nice talking to you.
You've been listening to the Content Champion podcast, available at contentchampion.com, Stitcher, Zune, the BlackBerry Network, and on iTunes. Until next time, thanks for listening.